Good evening. It's Speech O'Clock. Tonight we cover a topic that I know has been on the minds of many people for a long time. With the clouds of Brexit looming over the United Kingdom, many people are asking the same question. Will there be enough political will and political capital left over after Brexit for the implementation of a new regulatory regime with lots of business-friendly stuff that also guards against the same nationalist backlash that produced Brexit in the first place? To put it simply, is the vision of a Singapore-on-Thames achievable? We have two speakers tonight who will offer their perspectives on this very question. First up, Ben O'Brien. Ben O'Brien is a part-time video art college teacher who owns a Toyota Camry and who works on himself. Good luck to you, Ben. Next up, we have Alan Resnick. Alan Resnick loves Marvel superhero movies and is often sick. Good luck to you as well, Alan. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your Speech O'Clock speakers. As is customary on Speech O'Clock, we will go in reverse alphabetical order based on last names. And Alan Resnick will be our first speaker of the evening.
I would like to start off by saying that I have never been to Singapore. I know almost nothing about Singapore. When I agreed to come on this show, Robbie suggested that I watch a couple travel documentaries to brush up. Well, I listened to what he said, but I didn't watch any documentaries. I have, however, been to London. I went to London for a few days last year, but I was very sick, and I spent most of my time in the hotel room. I did not visit the British Museum or the Portrait Gallery. I did not stroll in Hyde Park, and I did not go to the Natural History Museum or the Victoria and Albert Museum. According to Robbie, they're right across the street from one another. Well, I can't say for sure if he's right, because I didn't go. I did, however, enjoy going on the subway there. I found it very easy to get around. The maps were easy to understand, and they were color-coded in a way that I liked. This is my experience of London. I was sick, and I slept a lot. Maybe the same could be said of the politicians there. They're sick and they're sleeping. Maybe that's an appropriate thing for me to say about this whole situation. I don't know. I don't know almost anything about British politics. In fact, I know almost nothing at all. So when you ask the question, can London be Singapore-on-Thames? I answer this. I don't know. I don't know what that means. In my opinion, that is simply a weird sentence. I assume that on Thames means on the Thames River. That's a river in London. I know that. That's easy enough to communicate. Why did Robbie have to make it weird? Now, Singapore. Singapore! Get this. Singapore is apparently a city that is also a country. Now, I've never been to Singapore. But I have been to the Vatican. That's right, I went to the Vatican. When I was in college, we visited Italy, and we took a day trip to Vatican City. Vatican City is another city that is also a country. Very interesting. So when you ask, can London be like Singapore? Sounds like you're asking, can London be like Vatican City? It's kind of like you're asking, can Singapore be like Vatican City? It almost feels like you're telling me that. But why? Why are you telling me that? Is the mayor of Singapore like the Pope? Is the mayor also the president? I know that the United Kingdom has a prime minister. There's also a mayor of London. We all know that. And then there's the Queen. Can't forget about that Queen. Is the Queen like the Pope? The biggest question I have about Singapore is this. Where is it? Where is Singapore? I looked on a map of where I thought it might be, and it wasn't there. I could have spent more time trying to figure it out, but I didn't. Robbie said that it was kind of on the coast of Malaysia. Okay. Let me get this. Just to be, are we saying that it's in Malaysia? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that another country that Robbie wants me to think about? Does Robbie want me thinking about Malaysia? Why? Now, I know where England is. I've been there, okay? And I guess I'd visit Malaysia if someone would please pay me to travel there and put me in a cool hotel and buy me lots of food. That sounds pretty good to me. Why doesn't that kind of thing happen more often? I think that would be fun. Maybe I can change some things in my life and the kind of business I do so that I get to go on more fun, free trips. I don't know. Here's a list of some places I would visit if the whole thing was paid for and at absolutely no cost to me. Hawaii, Disney World, Universal Studios. I'd like to go to Six Flags. And I'd also like to maybe go to one of those robot restaurants they have in Tokyo. That sounds fun. And last but not least, I'd like to go to Westworld. Brexit means that Britain will no longer be part of the European Union. Here's a question. Will it still be considered Europe? Is it still part of the continent of Europe? It's confusing. I don't quite understand. There are 7 continents on the globe. Asia, North America, South America, Africa, Australia, and Antarctica, and of course, Europe. Now, I may be crazy, but I'm pretty sure that the continent of Europe has always included some islands. Here are some islands that are in Europe. Sicily, Malta, Cyprus, Ireland, and the United Kingdom. Does Brexit mean that the UK will no longer be considered part of the continent of Europe? Doesn't make any sense. There is absolutely no answer to this question that I'm willing to look up for myself. This goes back to the weird thing about Singapore kind of being in Malaysia, but not really. There could potentially be a comparison between Singapore and Malaysia and the UK and Europe, but I don't know. I don't care about this, and I actually want to stop doing it. I want to stop doing this. As soon as I can stop doing this, I'd like to. Now, what's up with Scandinavia? That's its own thing, right? Scandinavia, I've heard of that. Scandinavia is made up of 3 countries in Europe. They're called the Nordic countries. So here's my main point about that. Why do countries have so many different names? Huh? Does anyone know? Took me a long time to realize that England is in the United Kingdom. So then why are we going around calling it Great Britain, huh? I don't like that. Maybe, just maybe, Britain could join the Nordic countries. That's an idea. Might help. It might not. It could make things worse. I'm actually not the authority on this. I shouldn't be even talking about it. But I looked on a world map, and it made it look like the UK was close enough to be considered a Nordic country. Here are some businesses that are Nordic. IKEA. That's one of the businesses. I love IKEA, right? I like to eat at the IKEA cafeteria. There are a lot of options for me, and I like that. I like seeing all the people who go to the IKEA cafeteria and then they spend all day shopping for furniture. I bought my bed at IKEA. It was too big. It's too big for me and my body. I think London should be more like IKEA. It's a radical thing to say, but I said it. For instance, the food in London was way too expensive. If it had been cheap and good like the food at IKEA, I probably would have eaten a heck of a lot more of it, and maybe I wouldn't have even gotten sick. It also rained a lot in London when I was there, and I was always wet. Here's something about me. If I'm wet for too long, I get sick. IKEA is indoors and dry. It's very big, and there's plenty of beds to lay on if you feel tired. Any Brexit plan should consider this. Now, it's possible that Singapore is mostly indoors. I don't know. Never been there. If it is, then that's smart. Now, if I were to choose a place to go, I would want to make sure that I could stay indoors as much as possible. Why would I go to Singapore? What would I learn from going to Singapore? Should I go to Singapore and go to the museums and learn about things I don't want to know about? I don't think so. Am I supposed to just chat up with people I don't know and people who I might never see again? That doesn't sound very fun to me, and I'm not going to Singapore. I refuse to have that kind of adventure for myself. Now, if Singapore is mostly indoors, then yes, London should be a heck of a lot more like Singapore. A lot more like Singapore. London, if London had had more areas that were covered with roofs, I probably would have done more fun stuff. I probably would have done stuff that didn't get me sick. If Brexit changes anything about London, it should change that. I want to be at least kind of warm all the time, and I assume that Singapore is warmer than London. Based on some Google image search photos I saw, it looked pretty warm. It looked like there were a bunch of beaches in Singapore. They looked bright and fun. I like to go swimming. I like seeing all the people in their bathing suits. So, any plan to make London more like Singapore should take into account that the river that runs through it is gross and looks like shit. No one likes to swim in shit. Make rivers more fun and sunny like a beach. Please consider doing this to all rivers. Thank you. In conclusion, if London wants to be more like Singapore, it's fine with me. I don't really know anything about either places, so they can do whatever they want. I do like two things, however: swimming and the IKEA cafeteria. That sounds like a full day to me. So I guess, in conclusion, my answer to the question is yes. Thank you.
How do you think the speech went, Alan?
I think the speech was a success, a huge success. I think it was good. I had a lot of fun doing it. Thanks, Robbie.
Alan, I did have a few questions for you. Why didn't you go to any of the museums I told you to go to when you were in London?
Well, Robbie, like I said, I was sick for my entire trip to London. It was just a few days, and I did spend most of my time in the hotel, like I said in the...
How do you think you did tonight?
I think I did wonderful, and I think I'll probably win the contest hands down just because I had a lot of energy and I had a lot of interesting...
You think you had a lot of energy?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that you you didn't seem to have as much energy as maybe you think you did.
I thought I had the appropriate amount of energy for the subject matter, and I just think
I think you could have, and this is something that you can take with you. You can carry this for the rest of your life. I think that you could move your arms more when you're speaking.
Noted. Thank you for the tip and the critique. I felt like I had kind of I had some really good hand gestures that emphasized my points. So
What do you think the world thought of your speech, Alan? The world was listening.
I think the world will reward me for a speech well done, and I think the world loved it, and the votes will show it.
All right. Well, let's go to the phones now. We have a caller on the air. Caller, you are on live with Speech O'Clock and Alan Resnick. What did you think of Alan's speech? I agree. He could have moved his arms a lot more. Alan?
I disagree, but I do thank you for the feedback, and I will consider that in the next episode of Speech O'Clock, which hopefully I will be in if I win the votes.
Well, that's not how it works. You go on to the finals, which is later in the season, so you won't be back next week.
Well, I'll be back for the finals, and I'll take that.
We also had some questions for you, Alan, that came in through the chat. I'd like to read a couple if that's okay.
It's your show.
Okay, this is from Charlie. Charlie lives in Manchester, which is in the United Kingdom. He says, Alan, should Britain have a second referendum? And if so, should there be a choice between no Brexit and Brexit again? Or should it be a choice between no Brexit, Theresa May's plan for Brexit, or should it be a no-deal Brexit?
It's a really wonderful question. It's a very detailed question and has a lot of details about the Brexit situation that are honestly, it's not really my place to say. That's a Britain decision. That's a decision for the people of Britain to make. If they had a good time with the first referendum, yes, they should have a second referendum.
Well, thank you for answering those questions, Alan. I think people are going to think about your speech a little bit more, and they'll come back for the final round of Q&A and also the voting, and we'll see how you did.
Okay, sounds good. Vote for me.
Okay. Ben's going to come out.
Okay. Singapore. London. Two cities separated by oceans and lands, yet tied together by history and circumstance. And a dream. My dream. Picture this. I'm at a very nice restaurant. There are candles on the table. It's not important, but I lit them with my eyes. I'm waiting for the one I love. I unfold the napkin and then fold it again. I am nervous. Will she be as beautiful as I remember? I look at the clock above. I look at the. Damn it. I'm sorry, Robbie. I am nervous. Will she be as beautiful as I remember? I look at the clock on the wall above the kitchen. The clock faces the Good Friday. You know the Good Friday Agreement? That's the clock face. A waiter with very long arms and a bright yellow head walks up to me and says, he's British, I think, so. I can only do Cockney. When will your love arrive? That's not anything. He looks like Doshin the Giant. He fills my glass with too much water. It overflows. It overflows with the tide of capital. Excuse me, I say to Doshin, the waiter. He hasn't left the table. How deep is this cup? He responds. The cup is as deep as the megaport in Singapore. This troubles me. I point to my plate, which only has a little water in it from the glass overflowed. Excuse me, I say to Doshin the waiter. But how deep is this plate? He responds again. This plate is as deep as the Thames. Is this okay? Okay. I look back at the clock. The clock face is now an image of former British Prime Minister David Cameron. He is giving his resignation speech shortly after losing the Brexit vote. I take the remote control that is on the table. In this restaurant, all of the tables have remote controls on them. There are also other tables and other people sitting and eating. I should have explained all this earlier. I turn up the volume. David Cameron's voice is strained and sad. I love this country, and I feel honored to have served it, and I will do everything I can in the future to help this great country succeed. He pauses for a moment, then starts to take off his suit coat and unbuttons his shirt underneath. His wife gives him the thumbs up. She approves. This is all happening on the clock. Underneath the shirt is David Cameron's skin. He is pale and weirdly hairless. It is to be expected. He wants to show everyone his new tattoo. It is a tattoo of worldwide shipping lanes that connect the world's biggest commercial ports. Long Beach, Durban, Hong Kong, Freeport, Rotterdam, and yes, Singapore. He spins around to show off the back piece. All of the lines converge on a drawing of Great Britain. All of the big towns are represented by detailed, stylized illustrations like an irreverent tourist's map. The tattoo starts to bleed. David Cameron is bleeding. He turns around and looks directly at me, smiling. This is all happening on the clock. The waiter comes up to me again. This time the waiter is former UK independence leader Nigel Farage. I was wondering when you... Oh no, that's me. This is me saying this. So Nigel Farage comes up to me. I was wondering when you'd show up. I can't help but saying. He's smoking a cigarette. A strange thing for a waiter to do in a nice restaurant, but I don't want to make the situation uncomfortable, so I just nod at him in general agreement. Would you like to order anything, Ben? The sound of my name coming out of Nigel Farage's mouth is so cool. I can't believe he knows my name. One of the principal actors in world-defining events knows my name. What do you recommend I order while I wait for my love? I ask. I have... It's the accent thing. I have just the thing, Ben. Hearing my name again is very cool. Nigel Farage places a massive stack of paperwork on the table. I look at the top sheet. It is a free trade agreement with the European Union. And there's more where that came from, Ben. I feel so cool. Nigel Farage points to a line of serving carts. Each one is stacked with free trade agreements with India, Brazil, South Africa, the United States. You can start with this one and then work your way down the line. I shake my head. I'm sorry. This is too much. I was waiting for my love, and I was hoping for an appetizer, not an unending marathon of free trade agreements. He blows smoke in my face. I cough violently, and Nigel Farage disappears along with all of the paperwork. Before I even realize he's gone, I am joined by Lee Kuan Yew, the father or architect of modern Singapore. It's very nice to meet you, I say. He sits down. He takes a deep breath and exhales. This will be very hard, he says. Take my hand. I take his hand and he leads me to a window. What do you see? He asks. The scene outside is blurry, but it comes into focus like I'm blinking through tears. What I see is this. In the center of a big, bushy forest, there's a massive stone statue recreation of my own head, flanked by two balled-up fists, as if I'm asking the question, what you thinking about? There are bright fires in my eyes. The flames are many different colors, rapidly changing. There are dozens of people scrambling over my head, carving details and smoothing imperfections. I look at Lee Kuan Yew. Looks awesome, I say. He shakes his head. You haven't even seen the best part. Excuse me. Lee Kuan Yew opens the window and shouts at the workers, "Hey, Ben is here! Make the mouth of his head open!" I want to stay cool, but I was really hoping that this would happen. A couple of the workers scramble around the back of my statue head. There's a sound like a massive light switch being flipped. Being flipped. And then my stone mouth starts to shake and open. As it opens, I can see torches ignite in a lighted tunnel leading down. I want to go into it. Lee Kuan Yew looks at me. What are you waiting for? I look back at the table. The candles are melted down to almost gross stumps. I can't leave. I'm waiting for my love. Lee Kuan Yew puts his hands on my face and looks deep into my eyes. You were waiting in the wrong place the whole time. Without notice, I am walking deep into my own mouth. The tunnel is wide and tall. It is comforting. As I walk, the torches light on their own when I walk by them. I don't check to see if they stay lit as I walk past them. Like, I don't look backwards to see if they're still lit, but I think it would be cool if they were. I know that somewhere at the end of this tunnel, my love is waiting. This is the dream.
Great speech, Ben.
Thanks, Robbie.
Can I have my jacket back?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Thanks.
you untuck your shirt, please?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
How'd you think the speech went?
I think it went pretty well.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel good about it.
I could tell that you really loved the speech.
Thank you.
I could tell that you really loved writing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was not convinced that you loved reading it.
Okay, thank you. That's great feedback. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think you could have used your arms more. To move your arms.
And by that you mean like I could?
To be more expressive.
Okay.
Like when I say to be more expressive and I do that movement,
Okay.
you see how that punctuates that a little bit? To be more expressive.
To be more
To be more
expressive. Okay.
Now are you ready to take some calls from the audience?
Yes.
All right. Audience member, you are on the air. It's Speech O'Clock. You are talking with me and Ben O'Brien, one of our first speakers. Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you say to that, Ben?
I think that's really good feedback, and I'm always, I'm open to criticism, and there's no bad ideas in brainstorming, and I always want people to, be honest with me. I come up here with my art, and I put my heart and soul into it, and I come up here, and I try to give the people something that they want. The world's watching, and I really think that it's good to always to be open to that kind of criticism, and that, yes, I hear what they're saying, and I will do that better next week. Am I on next week?
Well, that remains to be seen. Okay. Don't jump to conclusions.
Good. Another good.
Thank you for
point.
your call. Thank you so much. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will have our final Q&A with our two Speech O'Clock speakers,
Okay.
and we will discover the winner of tonight's
Great.
Speech O'Clock.
My secrets are my own. Have a good night, everybody.
We have one more segment. And we are back. You know what time it is? It is time to vote on who the winner of tonight's Speech O'Clock will be. Vote counting is simple. You can call in and tell us your vote, or you can type the name of your favorite speaker into the chat. Just type it in, hit enter. It will pop up in the chat, and you can type in that same name over and over as many times as you want. Keep voting. We are looking for your votes. We're listening to your calls. Caller, you are on the air with Speech O'Clock. And who do you think you're going to be voting for tonight? Ben. Wow, Ben O'Brien. And why did you choose Ben over Al?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, what do you say to that, Ben?
I think that it makes a lot of sense, and that what they're saying makes a lot of sense, and that's a good vote to do.
Wow.
If I had to choose, I'd probably vote for me too.
Okay, Alan. Some singing words for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, but the thing they said actually applies to both of us, so I actually don't understand why they voted for Ben. It's their vote.
Okay. Well, it's
That's right. It's their vote.
It's your world, Alan. Okay, let's take another caller. Thank you for your call. Let's take another caller. We have you here tonight on Speech O'Clock. We are taking your votes for your favorite speaker and for the winner of Speech O'Clock, and it's Alan. Alan.
Thank you so much. That was such a sweet thing to say, and I could tell that they were really.
Well, they didn't say
listening to
that much. They just voted for it.
Yeah, but I could tell the way they said it. They had that kind of, hey, that was such a. The way they said it was like, hey, I could tell that they were listening to my speech, and it's just very nice. So thank you.
Well, let's.
I don't need to harp on that.
So, you were listening to Alan's speech. Was there a part of in Alan's speech that jumped out at you, caller? Okay. Well, can you recall maybe the first few sentences in Alan's speech?
That's okay. That's okay.
No. I mean, we can find. So are you voting because you paid attention to Alan's speech, or maybe you just like Alan better than you like Ben? Well, we don't have to count every vote.
No.
Thank you for your call. Next up, we have another caller. Caller who you're going to vote on Ben or Alan, and it's Ben again. Wow, another vote for Ben. And what, pray tell, would lead you to vote for a handsome, intelligent, and very capable person such as Ben, in very good health? Well, he's not. He says that he's well enough to be here, so we're obviously not being cruel.
I'm fine.
He's fine. Okay, well, thank you for your call.
Thank you.
We have time. We are still looking for your votes in the chat. Remember to type the name of your favorite speaker into the chat. Keep typing, keep hitting enter, and keep doing that over and over and over as many times as you want. We have one more caller coming in to vote on the phones, and you are on the air. Are you going to vote for Ben or Alan? Another vote for Ben.
Thank
Well,
you.
this is things are looking down for old Alan Resnick.
But we don't have
seems.
that. We don't have the analytics on the chat, and I think that
the phone votes usually
Well, they're not really
reflect the chat.
They're not
votes.
really analytics. They're just votes. Okay, and so was there something about Ben's speech that really struck you? Elegantly put. Wouldn't you say so, Ben?
I think that was a really nice thing to say and an unbelievable thing to have heard from my ears to my brain.
Okay, so my next question is, was there something wrong with Alan's speech?
Is that a question for
Okay, well, I'm sure he'll internalize that. And
I did that. That was actually intentional, so it wasn't a mistake. So to call it a mistake is not.
So would you say that was part of the speech?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and that you just didn't like it. It was a part of speech and you just didn't like it. That's
But the
more
way they-
accurate.
But the way they categorized it was, I'm just saying, if it's intentional, it's not bad. Because I did it on purpose.
Well, thank you for your calls, and we have our speech o'clock numbers are in, and we have coming to me right now is the winner of tonight's speech o'clock. And remember that the winner of tonight's speech o'clock will move on to the speech o'clock finals later in the season. Wow, and the winner of tonight's speech o'clock by a very large margin is Ben O'Brien.
Oh my God. Okay. You know what? I just wanted to say thank you for the speech. Good, and that you voted for me is what it seems, and that people doing that is good for my speech and for me, and got me to come up to the podium again. And want to say thanks to Alan for his speech, and I want to say thanks to Robbie for getting me to come do this, and have a good night, everybody, and come on out to the speech you later. So have a good.
Alan, why don't you say something nice to Ben? You did such a good job. You got so many votes.
Yeah. So this will be my second speech. I'll give a speech about Ben. Congratulations to Ben. He's a good guy. He deserves everything that comes to him, good or bad.
Ben, do you have anything to say about Alan?
Thanks, Alan, and you're a good guy. And this
Okay,
is my
we
third
have
speech,
time
and
for one final call. And you know that final call is the penultimate final call, because the final call for tonight's speech o'clock will be able to determine the subject of next week's speech o'clock. Caller, you're on the air. Well, it's very nice. Thank you for calling. And what would you like us to discuss on next week's speech o'clock? Public libraries. Wow, that is a very interesting topic. We could go a lot of different places with it, so let's try to just narrow that down a little bit. Now, when you say public libraries, are you talking about, would you like us to discuss sort of like how they're funded, or how many there are, or where they might get books, or where the books go after they leave? Okay, how about this? How about the history of public libraries? Very well. The next subject for next week's speech o'clock will be the history of public libraries. Caller, thank you, and we will see you next week, same time, same place. Save it for the speech. meant to say speech you later.